Nifft is a 1982 novel by Michael Shea. And the book starts with a preface, a eulogy for Nifft, the dear friend of Shag Margold. He is no longer among us. The wording is pretty precise. He doesn't say he is dead, though he is spoken about in the third person. Shag was the keeper of the record of Nifft's exploits, and he tells us he traveled far, that he was not strictly honest, but he was honorable. And he was also a master thief. It is immediately a kind of a rollicking style for the prose, easy to get lost in, and easy to enjoy and easy to appreciate. This is evident by Shag's background, physical descriptions, and the bearing of Nifft. Here's an example taken right from these descriptions. Again, this is the preface, though, not the story proper, which is kind of in a separate style. It is hard indeed to think of him gone. He was one of those men whose death one hears of frequently and always, as it proves, falsely. The kind of man who always pops up into view like a cork upon the after turbulence of storms, and shipwrecks bobbing unharmed out of the general ruin. We also get some ruminations on history and humanity. In particular, it seems this is in the far future, sort of dying Earth-esque. That's the preface, though, and maybe a tad much. It's not really anything to complain about. There's lots of proper nouns thrown out, though, so I didn't even bother to try to keep track of them. The book itself is 4 stories, each with their own preface by Shag. The first of these is Come Then, Mortal, We Will Seek Her Soul. Nifft begins reciting an adventure of his with an old friend named Haldar into the land of the dead. Once this narration begins, it is from the point of view of Nifft in the first person. Haldar and he run from giant man-eating wolves. It's a nice twist on the Orpheus and Eurydice legend. It's horrific at times, erotic at others, and malign throughout. It is a little long in the telling, since after the call to adventure, which I must say was really well done, it is pretty guessable, but manages to stay entertaining enough, while the shortness of it doesn't make it overstay its welcome. Which is to say, it's a little long, but it's still not that long. Story 2 is The Pearls of the Vampire Queen. In the preface to this, Shag tells us the writer of the story was Ellen Arryn, an old lover of Nifft's that makes him seem more boastful than he actually is in this telling. Anyway, this is about a vampire queen named Volvulva and her kingdom. What a name, gosh. Barnar is his companion for this story, the one he is actually telling the first story to, and it seems maybe he was even telling Barnar the first story while they were on the second adventure. Interesting is that it's not a normal, really street sneak type of stealing that we see Nifft doing here, though he is famous thief and part of the guild, which is a nice Liberian touch. He's just poaching, right, and other things in later stories. Like the first story, it has an erotic streak at times. This is always tainted or colored with something weird and horrific. It's also strictly female in its eroticism. This one is a bit more exciting, though again, not terribly so at the beginning, though it is a strange landscape that really pops into your head. Story 3 is The Fishing the Demon Sea. Shag has a tendency to place lots of proper nouns in these prefaces. Again, this is nice for a sense of world building, but I didn't keep track of it, though it does also set up for the locale of the tale. Again, a sexual aspect this time with, well, actually really it doesn't pop up much, but the cat-like jabobos, which have large memory capabilities, are raised as cattle and are essentially sacred, though they are bipedal. And the actual story starts with Nifft and Barnar about to be executed by drawing, and the solution barge their way into hell. It is mentioned a couple times how environment and other circumstances affect mood, not just on Nifft, but on his companion, and also how one's mood affects the other. Mostly horrors are not often so alien or removed from humanity, but rather resemble humans in shape that it becomes uncanny and unsettling. The third story is thick and a bit difficult to get through. The wild adventures with some sea adventure, I guess you could say. Story 4 is a bit more enjoyable than 3, in my opinion. 3 is just really long. And story 4 is the goddess in glass. It has a more science fantasy feel. It's present in small part throughout the whole book, but in this one it deals with an alien that is called a goddess. Also, more development of secondary characters. All of them suffer, I feel like, all these stories, from momentum. None of them are pulse-founding or even that exciting for the most part. The first 2 are fine. I think it's because I like the first 2 actually a lot. The second 2 I just didn't really care that much for. But because of this low momentum plotting, the last 2 really suffer, I think. The prose at times is really exciting and excellent, particularly in the prefaces, but other times it's just okay, and a little thick even. It's a fine book. It's certainly not a favorite. It's definitely not bad, though. I do feel a little misled with all the praise I've seen heaped on it, but I thought, I tempered my expectations by really not knowing anything about the book, actually, at all. Apparently there are sequels, and I may read them. But again, overall, I very much enjoyed it. First 2 stories are definitely worth the time. The second 2 are a bit long, I think, especially running for they kind of feel like Sword and Sorcery-esque, Dying Earth-esque in a sense, or a little gothic, but I don't know. I think they're just a little long. I think they overdo their stay a little. If they were a little shorter, I think they would work a lot better. So anyways, that's just my opinion. You can disagree with it, of course. Leave from Liam's. I see you. I'll catch you next time.